Hello, everyone. Mallory, Andrew, and I did our final project on the topic of ethnic identity development. So, in order to understand ethnic identity, one must first understand what ethnicity actually is. So, ethnicity is a shared cultural heritage of a group of people with a common ancestry, language, or religion. Often, this includes geographic ties, like being from a certain part of the world. Um, it's important, though, to distinguish ethnicity from race. So, race is only a social construct, and it's based off of the idea that different groups of people are significantly and commonly different from one another biologically. Um, this has been completely disproven thanks to a lecture by Dr. Clayton Carlson. I have learned that a person from one race is actually 33% more likely to be related to someone from a different race than someone from their own race. Race is also based off of physical characteristics, skin color being the primary one. And the six common racial categories are American Indian or Alaskan Native, Asian, Black or African American, Hispanic or Latino, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, and white. So, what is an ethnic identity? Ethnic identity encompasses many different dimensions. The first is self identification. So, a person must view him or herself as a member of a group of people of a certain ethnic identity. Um, Exploration, that's the second point. People from a certain ethnicity seek experiences that are relevant to that ethnicity, such as a Hispanic person taking part in a quinceañera. Behavior. People from a certain ethnicity will often eat food and speak languages common to that ethnicity. The fourth point of ethnic identity is evaluation, which means that when a person evaluates their own ethnicity, positive feelings are experienced. And the fifth part of ethnic identity is beliefs and values. Often, but not always, ethnic identity encompasses the holding of beliefs and values that are common to a particular ethnic group. It's also important to note that ethnicity is dynamic. It's changing throughout every generation, and it's also diverse because people can have a wide variety of ethnic combinations. What is a racial identity? Again, it's important to distinguish the difference between ethnic identity and racial identity. So, racial identity is composed of four parts. Racial salience is the extent to which a person's race is a part of their own self concept. Racial centrality is the extent to which a person defines himself or herself due to their race. Racial regard, that can be public or private. So, private racial regard is how a person judges his or her own race based on their own positive or negative feelings. And public regard is how a person feels that the larger society views their race. And finally, racial ideology is a person's view about how their race should behave in society. So, as previously shown, there's a distinctive difference between ethnic identity and racial identity. So, with that difference highlighted, and now that we've explored what ethnicity really is, we can also now explore how to develop that ethnic identity.
Hello. My portion of the project focused in on the specific stages of an ethnic identity development, and then applied those stages and processes that I researched to an interview that I conducted. The first process I looked at specifically was the method developed by Gene S. Finney, which can be seen on your screen right now. It was divided into four major steps, but really there's only three practically speaking. The first is diffuse and foreclosure sort of combined, in which a person is not exploring their ethnic identity. Moratorium is when they are exploring their ethnic identity, and achieved is obviously when they achieve and commit to an ethnic identity. The second one, which I applied more to my interview because it is more minority focused, is the Atkinson model. This model goes through 5 steps. The first being conformity, in which a person tends towards the dominant culture's values instead of their own culture's values. Dissonance is the second step, in which there's a confusion between the differences, or why there's differences between the values of their own culture and then the culture of the dominant culture. And the third step is resistance and immersion, in which a person resists the dominant culture's values and immerses themselves in the values and culture of their own ethnicity. Introspection is the fourth, in which the person questions the values of both the dominant and their own culture and sort of sees what's good, what's bad about each of them. Just sort of reflection time. And then the fifth is synergistic articulation and awareness, which is basically just a fancy way of saying that they pick the good pieces from both the dominant culture and their own culture and then just sort of combine them to define their own ethnic identity. The interview I conducted was with a woman of Lebanese descent, and she talked specifically about how her Christian faith impacts her cultural ethnic identity from when she grew up as a Lebanese girl in a Lebanese household that wasn't Christian, and so how it tempers the bad and pushes away the bad and invites in the good parts of her old culture. It also should be emphasized that there's uniqueness in every development of every person, ethnically speaking. There are many differences based on age, location, ethnicity, and other factors as well. There's also an interesting tie between self-esteem and ethnic identity development in young people, which is interesting and adds uniqueness.
Hi everyone, this is Mallory, and I'm going to share a bit more about ethnic identity with you all. So as we've learned thus far, everyone can identify themselves differently depending on their background, values, and beliefs. As Kowitz and DeLucia state, ethnic identity is a multidimensional variable that refers to the psychological relationship, attitudes, and emotional salience people attach to their ethnic group. Is considered to be important in the psychological functioning of ethnic group members, end quote. I had the opportunity to interview a woman named Angelica who identifies as a Hispanic Latina from Mexico City, Mexico, and I'm going to use some of that information throughout this presentation to look more at the Hispanic culture and what affects their ethnic identity as a whole. So when looking at the Hispanic ethnic identity, we can see that they have family roles. Sanchez, Whitaker, Hamilton, and Arango state that Latino families tend to have traditional views regarding gender, including distinct gender role expectations for men and women compared with other ethnic groups, end quote. During the interview, I found this to be true, as Angelica stated that the husband or male is known as the machismo, which is the head of the household. They are the ones who support the family by working, and it is shameful of them if they cannot support the wife and family financially. The wife or female is known to cook, clean, and do laundry. Another aspect that affects ethnic identity in the Hispanic culture is religion. Calvio and Bailey found that Catholicism has been dominant in Latin America. Angelica also stated this to be true and said it is rare to find people who practice something different than this faith. She, however, and her family practice Christianity, but like I said before, she said that is not very common to come across. Next, some values that were found in the Hispanic culture. One of these are families. Families in the Hispanic culture are very close-knit. Hispanics also incorporate their extended family members to their everyday life. Diaz and Boes state, one protective factor among Latinas is the core value of familism or familismo, which is defined as Latinos' strong loyalty, reciprocity, solidarity, and attachment to nuclear and extended family. The importance of familism to Latinos in its relationship to well-being has been well documented, end quote. For example, if the family member has passed away and now may be widowed, the family would make them move in with them rather than allowing them to live on their own. They do not believe that it is right to leave one family living by themselves, and rather will force that person to move in with one of the extended family members. They also value the idea of providing each other with financial, moral, and emotional support. Another value that they have is that they respect the elderly no matter what. And also they respect parents. They believe that parents are always right no matter the situation, and there's no point in arguing with them because parents are just going to be right. Next, we're going to take a look at how this goes into Angelica's experiences. Angelica stated that her parents and grandparents had a large impact on her ethnic identity. Gonzalez found that family influence affects the Latino ethnic identity, which is shown to be true as she related to other family members. So she has become very affectionate in greeting one another. They show a lot of emotion and excitement, as well as give the individual a kiss on the cheek and say, "I love you" to everyone they interact with. This is something Angelica said is common within the Hispanic culture and is something she and her family practices. Growing up in Mexico, she was surrounded by individuals who were the same ethnic identity. and background. When she came to America, she said that she quickly saw many differences between her lifestyle in Mexico and what she considered to be normal in the United States. Through her interview, we can see that acculturation, which Cavazo and DeLucia state are when two autonomous groups are in direct contact with one another and result in changes of the culture of either or both of the cultures. Typically, this process is used to describe notion of minority individuals adapting to culture of the dominant group, end quote. This was true as her and her husband had started to include the best strengths of her Hispanic culture into the life of America. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you guys were able to have the chance to learn a bit more about ethnic identity as a whole. Thanks.
Thanks again for listening to our presentation, and we hope that you learned something about ethnic identity development. Thanks.